Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Yeah, a little bit of a difference. Chopped it, so it's shorter. Um, Much more easier to deal with, especially with the heat. So, yeah. Anyways, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Feeling in a good mood. Last night was pretty fun. I didn't really post it on social just because it was just time for me. So, went out to a really nice dinner, and the evening went very well. So I'm in greater spirits today than I was yesterday. So anyways, for those catching the replay, welcome to the replay. For those that catch it live, thanks for being here. And as the title implies, today is a Pixel live stream. So we're going to be talking about things Pixel related. Shouts out to Made by Google for making such a great phone. And yeah, so we got a lot of stuff on the cards, right? I'm going to talk about the 2022 lineup for Google Pixel products. We're going to be doing a what if segment for like a fan edition Pixel. And if there was one, what would be the first, old school Pixel that you would want revived with modern day specification and hardware? And then I'm going to tell you the reason why this phone here, the Pixel 6, has spoiled me and all the things that I'm able to do with it. So let's kick it off with the Pixel 2022 lineup, right? Google I/O pretty much knocked everybody for a loop. People have their opinions on things. Some people feel like that Google kind of undercutted the Pixel 6 by announcing the Pixel 7, which is something that's coming here pretty soon. We got a few more months until the Made by Google event, or the Google event, whatever they're going to call it. And initially what they intend to do and the pricing and everything like that, which, everyone's hoping that the pricing for the Pixel 7 is going to mirror the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, right? So we're looking at a $599 guesstimation for the Pixel 7 and $699 for the Pixel 7 millimeter wave supported, and then $899 for the Pixel 7 Pro. So these things are a guesstimated price. There is fear lingering with the Pixel 7. And that fear is that Google's going to revert back to its original pricing for Pixels before, which was like $799 for the smaller version or base model, and then $899 for the larger version base model, and going from there, being, totally totally out of it. And I understand the fear of that. And when it comes to like technology and stuff like that, it really boils down to the price and what you're getting for it, right? So the Pixel 7 boasts a lot of features and a lot of hardware upgrades that makes sense. I can kind of see a little bit of a price hike. But if it's going to kind of just have updated chip, maybe the same camera sensors and stuff like that or whatever, then I don't really see them moving the price up any higher, starting with the base models. What I would like to see with the Pixel 7 is them having more storage options. So let's go with the Pixel 7 base model, which is more than likely what I'm going to get because I don't require a lot of storage. A lot of my stuff is backed up to cloud. So let's say, for podcast sake, Pixel 7 starts off with 128 gig as the base model, right? Then I would love to see a 256, a 512, and a 1 tera. I would really love to see those options. It baffles me that Google hasn't even done this yet. I mean, they have a 256 gig model for the Pixels, but I've never seen them reach 1 terabyte. Considering the fact that Google is a large tech company and is tech eccentric, I would always have thought that Google would have actually wanted to do something like that, to put in a really massive amount of storage for those people who tend to just don't trust cloud. Because you can't fault people if they're I don't trust the cloud storage, so I don't back, the things I back up to cloud, I still want to keep a hard version of it on my smartphone. And so you can't blame people for that, especially when it comes to photos and videos and stuff like that. So realistically, I would love to see a 1 terabyte model. 512 would be nice, but I would love to see that. And I think that there would be some people that would pay for that. So maybe maybe like the first batch of like the 1 teras and the 512s, maybe go about 50% of what you would mass produce for the 128 and 256 gig models, as your first batch, your first wave of release of those model Pixel 7s. And then if you see like a higher demand for it, well, then obviously, you're continuing to manufacture them. You can pump out another batch that, can go on sale. You know what I mean? Sure, some people will complain and be like, what was Google thinking? Why did they, produce a small amount for the higher models? And it's only playing it safe, because you don't want to like mass produce a bunch of them and not sell hardly any of them. Because like I said, there will be folks that would buy a 1 terabyte Pixel 7. There would be, but it wouldn't be every consumer, especially for the price that it's going to be. If you're talking about the 128 being, $599, think about what the 1 terabyte model for the Pixel 7 would be, like $999, almost $1,000, just because it's got a huge storage. I mean, people can spit out their perceptions of like what the price would be, but you got to remember too, like your perception is saving you money. So that's where you're going to go into it with your opinions, and their thought process is making money, which goes against your perception of things. And so, yeah, we can always spitball and be like, oh yeah, they can make a 1 terabyte model and charge like $849 for it, or $799 for it. And it's like, realistically, it's not going to work. So that means that, that's the Pixel 7. We got the Pixel Buds Pro coming this July. I'm actually excited for. I'm going to get me a set of those. The design refresh, I think, is a nice touch. It's different, and it looks good. It looks really good, the way that it is designed compared to the original Pixel Buds 2 and the Pixel Buds A. While those look like a giant Mentos tab, they kind of condense the size of the Pixel Buds Pro. And I feel like that, without that little stick, or, that little, yeah, I'll call it a stick that sticks out from the side, that's supposed to like press up against your earlobe to kind of lock the buds in place. I mean, while that does bring the security of knowing that when you're running and stuff, it's not just going to slip and fall right out, even though it has on me a few times. But like walking and stuff like that, it doesn't. But the problem with that is that it does hurt your ears after a while. And then not everybody's ear is shaped the same. So if somebody has a much wider gap, I guess you could say, to the opening of their ear canal, then that bar is doing absolutely nothing. It's not even securing the buds to stay within the earlobe. So while there is a Pixel Buds Pro, and I absolutely am excited for it, and then the pricing being at $199, which is $20 more than the Pixel Buds 2, which that one launched at $179.99, and then the Pixel Buds A, which launched at $999. I think the price is fair for the Pixel Buds Pro. I'm glad it's not $249 or it's not $300 for it, because that, to me, that's like a little high. So just hitting at $200 at launch is just fine. It's fine for me. I'm okay with paying that amount for the Pixel Buds Pro. I would really love for Google to kind of go into the wireless headphones. I know people have been talking a little bit about it, and they're kind of ripping like, other people that have this idea to say like, oh yeah, you just want Google to be like Apple. Well, it's like having headphones like this that are wireless is good, besides earbuds. Some people don't prefer earbuds. I mean, why do you think they buy headphones that are wired instead of buying earbuds that are wired? They like this. And to be quite honest with people, while the Pixel Buds Pro, I'm going to assume, is going to sound really decent, I am also going to say that these, with the types of speaker drivers inside of them, can sound much more better than the Pixel Buds Pro, the earbuds themselves that go in the ear. You're talking about a very small speaker driver that is going to be engineered to bring the best sound it can, versus headphones that have a bigger driver in them that can produce better sounds. At the end of the day, I'm sorry to say this, but in my opinion, headphones beat earbuds 99.9999951% of the time. And so I would love to see Google come out with a set of headphones that are wireless. And I would love it to have this kind of like this, wired, in case, you run out of juice. You can plug in a headphone jack if your phone has a headphone jack, or you can plug it into a dongle and plug it into your phone. I would love to see something like that. So I mean, that's like spitballing an idea for Google products to come out with wireless headphones to go along with the Pixel Buds Pro. That would actually be pretty neat. And you know what? If they have it, that'd be nice. It'd be a sweet surprise come late 2022 if that was to drop alongside the Pixel 7. I would definitely go for those too. And especially, even if they cost like $250 for them or even $300 for them, I'll be all right as long as they had, a justified reasoning for that price. And when I'm not talking about just reliance on AI, I'm talking about like, some sound wave algorithm to produce the best sounds possible and to be able to block out outside noise when needed. It would actually be pretty cool if they made headphones, if like there was like the Pixel headphones or whatever they're going to call them, Pixel cups, whatever it is, Pixel muffs, whatever. If they had this thing and they utilize AI to be smart enough to recognize background noise that needs to be blocked so you can be immersed in your music, and then background noise that needs a pass-through to get your attention. Because how cool would it be if you're like, going for a walk, right? And there's like, you're walking by a group of people who's like, talking loud and laughing and stuff like that. Well, then you know what? Like, you would want your headphones to block out their noise so you can hear your music as you're walking by. But say you're about, you're at a street light, you hit the crosswalk sign, the crosswalk sign lights up for you to cross, but there's an emergency vehicle blazing down the road trying to get to an emergency with the sirens on. So if the microphones on the outside, whatever, it'll pick up, emergency vehicle sirens, it would pass that sound through to let you know, like, hey, wait, there's cops, or there's ambulance or fire truck or first responders, right? How cool would that be if they had headphones smart enough to detect the difference between those background sounds and be able to noise cancel the ones that don't matter and allow pass through of the ones that do matter? That's something that I think that Google can really step a leg on if they were to build wireless headphones and push those. They could really, really, really get the attention of a lot of people that are in the interested in the wireless audio industry. Because there's a massive amount of YouTubers that do it. The one that I like to watch the most, who I trust his judgment and I love his perspective on things, is Technoid. Technoid does a lot of he talks a lot of tech news, but he also does a lot of wireless audio reviews. Especially from the company Soundcore, and so he knows his stuff, so I trust him on things. But that would be a really, really cool thing to see. If anything, that would be nice. But anyway, we're like dipping into like what ifs and that. So anyways, moving on a little bit. So we talked about Pixel 7. Let's talk about the Pixel 6a and my excitement for this phone and my excitement to see it come. $449. Some people say that's a little bit too much for what you're getting. They feel like that it's also undercutting the Pixel 6. And here's the thing, right? Like, yeah, the Pixel 6a is going to mirror the Pixel 6 with, the processing chip, with a lot of the internal specs, those types of things, right? Hey, what's up? What's going on? So while we do know that the Pixel 6a is going to mirror the Pixel 6, it is also, there are a few things that also kind of like doesn't undercut the Pixel 6, right? So if you're really like, very focused on display size, right? Well, obviously you're going to know a difference between a 6.4 inch and a 6.1 inch. Right, you're gonna know the difference between those two displays size-wise, right? They're not gonna be a drastic difference. It's not like a 6-inch versus a 4.5 inch, but you will notice a size difference, right? And I'm actually kind of grateful at a $449 price tag, because they could have justified a $499 price tag. They really could have, or they could have, justified a $549 price tag. Because the Pixel 6a is pretty much the Pixel 6 with a smaller form factor, a different build material, and a different camera sensor. Everything else is pretty much the Pixel 6. And while people are like, well, it's using an outdated camera sensor and such, I have to remind people just how good photos from Google Pixels was and is still till today with the older generation models using the same camera sensor. The Sony IMX363 does have its limitations compared to the 50 megapixel camera that we find in the Pixel 6. However, you do have Google AI that makes up for a lot of it. A lot of Google Pixel photos are processed photos, right? I've heard people kind of like talk on the downside about that. But let me just remind a lot of people that even iPhone cameras and even Samsung cameras are processed photos when you snap them. They're not all 100% raw images. But would be taking the place of the Pixel 6. No, it wouldn't be taking the place of the Pixel 6. Okay. Because there are slight things that you get with the Pixel 6 that you will not get in the Pixel 6a. Mario on the Facebook side, what's going on, man? You're about to clock in to work and stop by and say hello. I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks so much, Mario, for popping in for a sec. Because again, at the end of the day, like I said, a bigger display with the Pixel 6 over the Pixel 6a. You're getting a bigger camera sensor, so a 50 megapixel camera sensor made by Samsung, not using the Sony IMX363 that's been found in Pixel devices, since the Pixel 3. And, you have those people who are concerned about premium quality and premium material to build a phone. The Pixel 6a is not. Like, there's this new thing going around about the Pixel 6a calling it Glastic because it mimics glass, but it's plastic, right? So it has that sheer shine reflection like it's glass, but I guess it's not glass in the back, which to me, I think is a great move. Some people are just like, why didn't they put glass? It's a great move to go through that because I think there are 3 people that I feel like that are really going to aim for the Pixel 6a over the Pixel 6. And it's not because, the cheaper price, that is part of it, but it's not just that. There are those people who don't like using glass sandwich devices because they worry about cracking the phone. Why would they worry about cracking the phone? Because they are the type of people that don't like to put a case on their phone. While we can sit here and judge people that do that, it's their given right to do that because they're paying out of their pocket. So I'm not going to judge anybody who likes to rock their phones butt naked. I said it myself. When I buy the Pixel 6a, yeah, I'm going to buy a case for it, but more than likely I'm going to rock it majority of the time without a case because I like feeling the phone directly in my hand. This right here is the only way I can really show the representation that this is the Pixel 6 that I'm using because it's a clear case. You can definitely see the design language of the phone. It's distinguishable. You can tell in public that's a Pixel 6, right? But does it add a little bit more bulk onto my Pixel 6? Obviously, yeah. And sometimes, I take, when I'm laying in bed, I take it out of the case because if I drop it on the mattress, it's not going to crack it. But I feel a much more better experience when I'm holding the phone in hand and not holding a phone with a case wrapped around it. So you have that. That's one. Okay. You have those that want a smaller display, right? So while it's not, like I said, it's not a drastic difference in size of the 6 versus the 6a, but 6.1 means a smaller form factor because that's one of the things that people didn't like about the Pixel 6. Some who bought the Pixel 5 and loved it are like, the Pixel 6 is much bigger than the Pixel 5. And obviously you can tell, and they would rather have the Pixel 5 form factor. I can't tell you how many times I've seen on Twitter, so many people tweet that they got the Pixel 6, they love the phone, they love everything it can do, but the size was too big for them. So they returned theirs and got a Pixel 5. So, I mean, that is number 2. Number 3 really kind of just boils down to those that are like the A-line supporters, those who have always been with the Pixel A. They were there and bought the Pixel 3a. They upgraded to the Pixel 4a. They've upgraded to the 4a 5G to get 5G connectivity. They upgraded to the 5a. They're going to be upgrading to the 6a. Believe it or not, but there is actually a split in the Google Pixel community. There is Google Pixel fanboys and fangirls, and then there's the Pixel A series fanboys and fangirls. Those who dominantly prefer the A series line and are not fond of the flagship from Google. Why did this even happen? Well, it happened because if you think about it, in the last several years, when Google releases their Pixel flagship, it tends to be botched. They either do something that doesn't make sense. there's a feature that's breaking other features on the phone, or the price just didn't match what they produced, right? But the A series has always had a better vibe and better luck, right? The 3A launched and everyone was just loving it because it performed like the Pixel 3, but it didn't cost as much as a Pixel 3, and it was using a Snapdragon 690 processor versus the 800 series chip that the 3 had, yet it was able to fly like it did have the same chip as the Pixel 3. So the 3A and 3A XL launched at a very good price. The 4A 5G launched at a good price and continued on the same moniker that the A series line is known for. And the Pixel 5A continued that as well, even introducing a aluminum body and water resistance, and still maintaining a low price. So the 6A is going to be their drug of choice, if that makes any sense. The 6A doesn't undercut the Pixel 6, but it is a good option. So like, I don't want people to think like, oh man, like this guy's like, hyping up the Pixel 6 over the Pixel 6A. No, it's nothing like that. It's pick your poison. You go with the A series, smaller display, good size battery, much more durable material build. And this is just guesstimations because who knows, the Pixel 6A could have a very compromised body that's easily broken, and we don't know until the phone's in hand. But there are those people who's going to prefer that. There's those people who's going to prefer the 6, right? They don't want that rounded display that's on the Pixel 6 Pro. They're okay with just a regular wide angle sensor and an ultra wide angle sensor rather than getting the telephoto sensor. So those things you have to really just kind of think about when it comes to that, is just exactly what is the right thing for you. The Goldilocks effect, right? Porridge too hot, porridge too cold, porridge just right. But which size is the hot, cold, and just right? And that depends on you and your preferences. So my whole thing and my whole reality of everything, the Pixel 6A is going to be a great phone for me to have in pocket. I gave my Pixel 5A away. The person that's using it, she is enjoying it. She loves the fact that it has a headphone jack, because her car does not have Bluetooth connection. It has an auxiliary port, and she used to have a Bluetooth adapter plugged into the aux port and connect her phone that way. But now with the Pixel 5A, she can have it mounted to the dash. She can run an auxiliary line from the headphone jack into the auxiliary port and play music directly that way, and not have to worry about Bluetooth adapter dying out of battery, and not have to worry about running her battery down quicker with Bluetooth on. So I mean, she's totally enjoying the Pixel 5A. Larger display, water resistance, so that's even better for her, as she stated, because accidents happen, and that was one of the things she worried about the A series from previous models, was that they weren't water resistant. So now the 5A she has that along with her Pixel 6, and hang on. But yeah, so I'm going to be getting the Pixel 6A. I'm going to be using it alongside with my Pixel 6. And definitely there's going to be a lot of videos of comparisons and performance and stuff like that, which, even though, yes, not theoretically, but they are using the same processor chip, but there is a theoretical chance that there could be some different behaviors based upon whatever Google does in restraints to refine that price down to a $449 price tag. So it's going to be great to use, but then also, smaller phone means, I have small hands. That's the reason I've been using my Pixel 4 lately. I've been loving using the Pixel 4, by the way, lately. But we'll get into that when we talk about a possible fan edition for Google products. So that's going to be the idea behind it. Why I wanted to talk about that later on here in a little bit. But I will say, with the Pixel 6A, the pricing, the things that you're getting, I predict it's going to be a great launch. While there are a lot of people who are in fear that it's going to have the same type of launch as the Pixel 6 and it's not going to do so well, only time will tell, right? But I'm thinking it's going to do very well because the A series has Google has supported it, which is unheard of with other OEMs. There are a lot of OEMs that put out a lot of mid-range devices, but they don't really back them the way they back their flagships. Google tends to be on the opposite foot because they do a lot of backing to their A series. They definitely mention the fact that it is much cheaper than their flagships. They really boast about that, but yet it still has the same performance. It's optimized the same as their flagships. But then people wonder, like, how come Google doesn't back their flagships in the same manner? But anyways, to each their own, right? Okay, so let's kind of just take it into a Pixel Fan Edition phone. Whoa. That came out of nowhere. One of the worst things about being outside during a podcast. It's like, yeah, you get the sunlight and everything, but you also get the wildlife. Anywho. So, should there be a Fan Edition Pixel phone? And if there was to be a Fan Edition Pixel phone, which older model Pixel should they start off with? Okay, this is a question I'm asking those watching. Type in your response if you want to, or comment later on. The options: Pixel 2 XL, Pixel 3 XL, Pixel 4 XL. Which one of those three should Google bring back with modern day specifications and hardware, but older design? Me, I'm going to tell you guys, I vote Pixel 2 XL. I feel the Pixel 2 XL should be something that, a design that should be brought back with modern day. Gary says Pixel 4 XL. Nice. The reason I say Pixel 2 XL, because it was a phone that a lot of people really, really, really loved and enjoyed. It was what I feel to be the best-selling Google Pixel phone that Google ever put out. And the color, the panda colorway, I think they should go with that, like that two-tone. They should go with that, but they should go with that with multiple different colors, right? So like yellow and black, white and black, red and black, blue and black. Do the Google colors with the 2XL design. And when I mean the 2XL design, I don't mean just only a big phone. They can have a Pixel Fan Edition and a Pixel Fan Edition XL, or Pixel Fan Edition Large, whatever they want to call it, right? But just have that two-tone design that the Pixel 2 XL had. Front-firing speakers that the 2 XL has, but use better speakers in it for like more punchy bass. They can keep a single camera sensor on the back. I don't need them to double up with a wide angle and ultra wide angle. One of the big things I noticed a lot of on Instagram is there's a lot of people who have phones, and I see them always talk about, ultra wide is the best, ultra wide is awesome. And when you go through their Instagram profile, they maybe have 2 or 3 photos that they even utilized ultra wide. So if they were to make a Pixel Fan Edition, and they did the 2 XL to start off with first, so that would be the Fan Edition number 1, or let's say the Pixel Edition, or whatever they want to call it. The 2 XL, I would be cool with that being the very first design. I would love them to make a, like the second generation to be the 4 XL design, or, the third generation design or whatever. I would love that too, right? And the reason why I chose the 4 XL is not because of the square camera module on the back of the phone that pretty much like a lot of OEMs were copying in those years. The reason why I said 4 XL was because I was wanting them to bring back the Project Sully along with Face Unlock, right? So basically motion sense with Face Unlock. The current Face Unlock that's going to be in the Pixel 6 Pro is not the type of Face Unlock I want on my phone, right? And to be honest with everyone, it's not even comparable to Face ID, right? Face ID on iPhone needed a 3D mapping of your face when you set it up, because it was going to use radars to detect a 3D model of your head, overlaying your face on that model to make sure you're a human being and not a two-dimensional photo being presented in front of the camera, right? And the Pixel 4 XL did the same thing. You had the Face Unlock, and it tag teamed with Motion Sense's radar, Project Sully, and that allowed it for a quick unlock. Yes, there was a botched feature in that Face Unlock on the Pixel 4. If people forgot what it was the fact that the phone would unlock with your face with your eyes closed, and Google quickly answered to that by making it to where your eyes had to be open. And instead of pushing out a giant software update, they decided to make it a toggle switch. because some people didn't care if their phone unlocked with their eyes closed. So yeah, it was a thing that you can turn on. And why did some people not care? Because it wasn't like it unlocked for a total stranger's face, right? It would only unlock for your face, even if your eyes was closed. And me personally, I'm like an open book. So when I'm with somebody, when I have a partner in life, she's my everything. I have nothing to hide. Like, they have my passcode to my phones. I even tried and tell them, like, if they want me to register their fingerprint to my phone, let's do it. Let's register your fingerprint so you can unlock it without the need for me to do it for you. And the reason why that I think about it that way is because if something was to happen to me, how is she going to reach out to my family immediately and immediate friends if she can't get into my contacts on my phone? You know what I mean? So that's my thought process. And I'm not the type of person that wants to go around cheating on anybody and hurting feelings. So I have nothing to hide. So that's why it never bothered me if like the phone unlocked if my eyes were closed. I didn't care as long as it unlocked to my face. Some people do care, and I'm not trying to knock them because they do care and they wanted it to where your eyes had to be open, to each their own, right? But it was fast on the Pixel 4 XL. Now the face unlock that's coming to the Pixel 6 Pro, that is the same as you would find in Samsung. It's the same that you would find in Motorola. So while yes, it will only unlock to your face, you can trick that thing with a very good photo of the person who owns the phone. That's how you would unlock it. And that's not very good security, because then what was the point, right? Biometric then thumbprint on the Pixel 6 will dominate that at the end of the day and be the much better option. So with that being said, that's why I chose the 4 XL as another one that I would want them to do a revised model with modern day hardware, modern day specifications, and not saying the Pixel 5 or the Pixel 4a 5G or any of those models. The reason why is because, it will have the square camera module on the back like those models do, but it has the face unlock tag team with motion sense. That is the main reason why. And I would love to see that brought back. I was really hoping for that in the Pixel 6. I was really hoping that they would bring back motion sense. I know they threw it out there for people to see in the Pixel 4 and 4 XL. So the 4 and 4 XL acted like a billboard for this technology that Google is still further advancing, right? Google is still building upon this. They're still trying to make it as good as possible. Project Soli is not dead. It's not scrapped because, the Pixel 4 and 4 XL didn't sell dramatically. It had nothing to do with that. The 4 and 4 XL was the guinea pig to test motion sense, and that's why it only had limited capabilities. For those people who didn't understand that, that is the reason why it had limited capabilities, was because it wasn't even in beta. The Project Soli is not even classified as beta tech yet at all. It's still in alpha. It's still in development. So I would love to see where Project Soli is right now. So if they were to bring back Motion Sense and call it Motion Sense 2.0 or Motion Sense 2, I would love to see how much further the AI, the neural processor, how all that stuff is working to understand hand gestures, right? Because one of the things and the reason why I was a big backer in Project Soli was that those who cannot speak, right? So they communicate through sign. How cool will it be to have your phone propped up on a desk and you can text people and use sign? And the motion sense radars captures your hand movements to understand what you're saying, and not just spelling out letters with your hands, because anyone that understands sign language knows that, if you're, and I'm sorry if whoever signs, if I butcher this, like, let me know in the comments, because I don't want to get it, I don't like getting things wrong, and I'm not like a professional person that knows how to sign. I just picked up things along the way, right? But instead of like, when they speak, instead of them spelling like D-O-O, I think it's R, they just door. I think that's a sign for door, right? And so if that's the sign for door, obviously they're not spelling it, right? So to have motion sense be able to understand that, it would help. It would help so much, so much people out there. And like, I want people to be able to have a very similar experience that I have with my smartphones. That's the reason that these quirky little features that people tend to shit on is something that I don't dominantly not dominantly, but like right away shit on those things, because if they're intended to help people, then I want to see if it could be advanced to actually be something that helps people. I want everyone to have a similar experience that I have when using a smartphone. I don't want them to feel like that they have to go a different route that is completely different from everybody else because of, you know, something that happened to them in their life or something that they were born with that keeps them from doing it the way that majority of people do it. I don't want people to feel that way. I want them to feel like they're doing the, you know, they're having the same experiences that I'm having with the smartphone. So that is one of the biggest reasons that I back Project Soli so much on that. I don't talk much about it because there's not been really much released as far as like anything advanced or changed within it. Minor stuff here and there I read about it, but nothing like drastic, you know, or a big milestone forward type of thing. So that's why I don't talk too much about it. But if you guys want to have that conversation, let me know, and I can put it on for next Saturday's podcast calendar. We can talk about Project Soli and go more in depth, and you know, I'll put some stuff together to kind of show you guys. We could do that. So let me know in the comments if you guys want to talk about Project Soli next Saturday. But yeah, I do feel like that would be a great move, because Google is still trying to get more pixels in people's hands. They're trying to get more people to really understand pixels. And what better way to do it than to revive an older, you know, body design of their previous Pixel phones with modern day stuff. Like, how cool would it be to have a Pixel 2 XL that has 5G capability, that has a modern day processor, which would be the Tensor chip, have a beefed up single rear camera sensor and a beefed up selfie camera sensor, and run the latest version of Android, right? That's why we have a, you know, like XDA and various other websites that are like big and heavy on ROMing, is because there's people who want the latest version of Android. And even though their devices is no longer supported, there are ways to, you know, adopt the new version of Android on an older hardware. There is a massive community for the Pixel 2 XL. I will tell you guys that right now. And the problem with mine is that my Pixel 2 XL is a Verizon model, so the bootloader is locked. While there is a way to, you know, get it done, it is much more of a risk of permanently hard bricking the Pixel 2 XL if I was attempting to put Android 12, Android 13 on it, versus the unlocked models that, you know, the bootloaders are unlocked. So all you gotta do is just completely unlock the bootloader and then push like torque recovery to the phone, because you need a modified recovery to flash a ROM zip file. The stock recovery won't do it. And then you get the, you know, the ROM that you want to use, and then you flash it through Twerp, and boom, you got the latest version of Android. Like, you can Google, you can YouTube it. There are several YouTubers who have already put Android 12 and Android 12L on the Pixel 2 XL, and they show what it can and can't do. They show certain features that work, certain features that may be broken at the time, that's getting worked on by the developers. But eventually, these custom ROMs, while they may not have all the features corrected immediately, like, you know, Google would do for their phones, they get it done. And eventually these custom ROMs are no longer half-baked. They are fully baked and ready for, you know, daily driving. And so, like, that's what I was saying, like, you know, how cool would it be if Google was to capitalize on that? Know that, you know, since they know that their Pixel phones are mostly popular with the geeks and nerds in the community, they should know that if they just bring a fan edition to an older model with newer hardware and newer specifications, it would do absolutely well. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on why we should have some sort of a fan edition Pixel. Lastly, to kind of talk it all off, the Pixel 6 has me spoiled as hell. This phone is intelligent as hell. It really is good. And, you know, while I can sit here and talk about specifications of the Pixel 6, I'm just going to tell you guys my experience real quick before I wrap it up. So the Pixel 6 is a hard phone for me to put down. Like, I've done it where I've like switched to the Pixel 5 and the Pixel 4 and use those. And while those work out great, and those, in fact, you know, like, are manageable by me, a person with small hands. Hey, thanks, Need. Appreciate it. At the same time, too, I end up just having to put my SIM back into the Pixel 6. Yeah, there was a lot of problems with the Pixel 6. I'm not going to lie to anybody and say that just because I didn't experience those bugs doesn't mean that everybody else that was lying. Like, no, I believe the people who were talking about they had Wi-Fi connection issues, they had cellular network connection issues, they had auto brightness issues, like the issues that was dropped regarding the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro. Like, I believe those that were talking about the issues that were going on, right? This is the reason why that I fully say that Google botched the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro launch for whatever reason. Do I understand that it's Google's first rodeo with making their own dedicated SoC? Yeah, of course. And while people look at the root problem, and this is funny too, because a lot of people did this. So they look at the root problem. They're like, it's got to be the Tensor chip. They research the Tensor chip. They read that Samsung had involvement in it, and that the Tensor chip is kind of mirroring the Exynos chip. And so before even really reading in depth as to what the Tensor chip is, they immediately go to that and say, yeah, it's because it's Samsung and it's Exynos, so it freaking sucks. But they have not looked at the real big picture of the Tensor chip. While it is gonna have, some mirroring of the Exynos chip, because Samsung had a hand in helping them build the Tensor chip, doesn't mean it's going to perform as the Exynos does. The Exynos chip does not focus on AI as a Tensor chip does. There are cores specifically built into the Tensor chip that is supposed to handle the AI in the Pixel 6. And that's doing things, through Google Assistant. That's doing things like Magic Eraser. That's doing things like Hold for Me. That's doing things like spam protection. That's there's a lot involved that the AI in the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro handles, and a regular Exynos chip is not going to cut it. Because think about it like this: if Google's out to basically maximize profits without spending too much to gain those profits, if Samsung was like, yeah, you know what, we'll just build you an Exynos chip, and it would cost you way less than what it would cost you to actually make your own chip, don't you think Google would have just optioned that and moved away from Qualcomm? Like, no, they wanted a specific chip built for the way that the Pixel phones was intended to be used. And that was that. So while that whole debacle and everything like that, and the hatred for the Pixel 6 tends to fly from those that get about 56 to 65% of the information and then run on that. Let me just tell you guys, the phone is actually really intelligent, and it really does help in my day-to-day, especially with my job and work. Well, I can't tell you how great it is for my phone to understand the difference between an email that's important at my job to notify me on it and an email that I don't need. And it does that. It literally does that through Gmail. Like, things change at my job company. Certain policies change in different states, and so we have to be updated on the policy changes. And the emails that are important, after it learning which ones I tend to look at the most, happens to be the ones that I get notified on. The ones that I tend to just archive or mark as read but not even open it, it doesn't even notify me on those, which is great. That's awesome. You know what I mean? The Android software is well optimized now, especially today. And I've told people, Google Pixels get better over time. It's a shitty thing to have to say it like that or to rely on that type of thing, because things should work the moment you buy it, right? A lot of people have told me before, but I've made this statement, like, if Google's going to put out half-baked products, and shouldn't we only pay 50% of the price of the phone, and then when they finally get it right, pay the other 50%? That's a funny way of doing things, and I like that. I like that that idea and everything, because that was so totally great. But nonetheless, when the Pixel 6 had problems, I knew that it wasn't going to last forever. I knew that Google would get on the ball and get it fixed. And they may not have done it as fast as people wanted them to. And maybe I'm just, a super chill person that doesn't expect things all the time. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not super chill when it comes to new things. Like, if I buy a new phone and it has to be shipped to me, like, my anxiety kicks through the freaking roof, because I want that phone in hand. I want to start using it, Let me check this out real quick. I think a good phone should get better over time. Each update should show growth and polish. Yeah. A phone that comes out should not have too much bugs like the Pixel 6 did. So I'll agree with the people on that. But yeah, the phone should get better over time. It should not degrade over time. And if anyone really wants to kind of compare it, look at the last 6 flagships from any OEM and X Google out of it. But any other OEM, Samsung, LG, Motorola, Huawei, Xiaomi, HTC, etc., right? They put out a really badass flagship, right? But it degrades over time. As the years go, it starts to show its age. And Google has like the fountain of youth of smartphones. They put out a phone. It does great to a degree. But over the years, it gets better and better, right? I have the Pixel 6. Honestly, yeah, I'm going to get the Pixel 7 because, of course, I like to get the latest and greatest. And I want to be able to do some reviews on it for everybody. But the Pixel 6 would not go in a drawer. It will not. And I'm like proof of it. Anyone that follows my social media, how many times do I freaking change to an older Pixel phone or add it into the rotation, right? You've guys seen my tweets where I drop a tweet that says Pixel 4 has been added into the rotation. Pixel 3 has been added into the rotation. Pixel 3a in the rotation. Today, I just dropped another bomber on everyone and said the Pixel 2 XL is back in rotation. So I tend to use these phones and put them through use and then give them a break and use something else and then go back to them. And yada, yada, yada. And the Pixel wheel, the hamster wheel spins for me. So the Pixel 6, just because I got the Pixel 7, doesn't mean that the Pixel 6 is going to get shelved. Matter of fact, more than anything, because there's 3 phone lines that I have, the Pixel 6 is going to be on one of them. The Pixel 6a is going to be on one of them. The Pixel 7 is going to be on one of them. And I carry these 3 phones with me to work. People at work kind of make fun of me, or they just sit there and they end up having a discussion about tech with me because they see on my desk and they want to know, why do you have that many phones? And then I tell them oh yeah, I do YouTube for fun. And they're like, oh, you do YouTube for fun? Like, yeah, I like to talk about mobile tech. And it's funny too, their reaction, their face is like, I don't know, they're just, my coworkers are just, they're awesome, but yeah. So they'll tell me what's your YouTube channel like? And I tell them my YouTube channel is small. So they go, oh, okay. They're like, I want to check it out. And I give them the link. And then the next time I talk to them, it's always small my ass, 11,000. But 11,000 is small. At least in my opinion, it is. I'm not a gladiator on here. But I appreciate, what they say when they're like, wow, 11,000 people actually decided to follow you so they can watch some of your videos. I'm like, yeah, some of them come back to watch every day, every other day, or some come every 6 months. It just depends. But yeah. So anyways, back to the Pixel 6. I just hashtag ADHD. I just had an ADHD moment right there. I just went completely off rail. But yeah, I'm super spoiled with the Pixel 6. Being able to take photos, and the photos is the biggest thing, because I take a lot of family photos, pictures of my kids and stuff like that. And Magic Eraser just comes in super handy for that. Super handy that I don't have to wait for people to get out of our way when I take a photo shot. If they're in the background and I'm snapping a photo of my kids, I want to get their most best smile, their most best expressions and reactions, that I can just snap my photo. It doesn't matter who's in the background. There could be a guy that's in the background that's doing something weird, and I don't have to worry about it because Magic Eraser helps me take that out of the equation. I can just bleep, bleep, they're gone. Everybody in the background's gone. It looks like they were at this place all to ourselves. And I have the reactions of my children that I want for keepsake moments. Because yeah, for sure, I've already made it. I've already planned this. I don't know if anyone does anything weird like this, but I've recorded 1-second clips of my kids as they're growing, and it's all backed up to Google Photos. The intention is that should anything happen to me, illness, or if I pass naturally, on a day that I feel like I'm gonna take my last breath before I lose my vision of my eyesight, I would really love for my family to, after I stitch all those things together, to be able to play it, kind of like making my own life flash before my eyes and seeing my kids' growth and having those memories and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I take those 1-second clips. I take those photos, and I want those photos to be the best that they can be. That's just how I feel. So anyways, hello friend, you're cool. Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Anyways, yeah, so I'm very spoiled by my Pixel 6. Thoroughly enjoy the phone. And it's only gonna get better over time. So at this point right now, everybody, I am going to call it a day. I just, had a good time last night, felt good, felt happy this morning, and decided to jump on here and just do a quick live. Plus, too, someone voted and said they would love some Pixel news, so I figured I would do an entire live stream talking about Pixel products and stuff. So if you missed the very beginning of it, catch the replay. Everyone that came in and hung out with me, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you guys so much for that. I am going to enjoy the rest of my day, and I think y'all should too. It's Sunday. I gotta go back to work tomorrow, and so I gotta be up early. Love you guys very much. Y'all are everything. Be cool, be safe out there, and I'll see you guys this Wednesday. This Wednesday afternoon, I'm gonna have a podcast since I'm getting out early on Wednesday. So for sure, that's gonna happen. But y'all be cool.